Hey, Dr. Joy here. Okay, so let's talk supplements for COVID. Let's talk irritable bowel syndrome, and let's talk serious symptoms. Okay, so a lot of you are trying to do right by yourselves and decide to take some supplements to help your immune system, right? Or maybe you've noticed this not around this crisis, but you're just trying to notice that when you take zinc, your irritable bowel gets way worse. So it's like, diarrhea, cha, or maybe serious constipation or serious bowel upset or serious insomnia. You take your zinc and your hormone symptoms get worse, your skin breaks out. You notice that instead of helping you, the zinc supplement just seems to be making you worse. What the heck's going on, right? Not only that, but like, let's say um, you take a supplement that's not a zinc supplement but has zinc in it, and you're like, wow, whenever I take this particular supplement or this food with, whenever I have this multivitamin, I don't feel well. Okay, so go look at the multivitamin after this video and let me know, does it have zinc in it? Okay, so here's the deal. Bugs, when they get into your body, they want to live. Okay, so there's something called pathogen evasion strategies. And if you're a clinician and you're wanting to learn more about pathogen evasion strategies, Sam Yannick has a great course, Dr. Sam Yannick, called Cogents. I highly recommend checking it out. And that's where I got this concept from. So thanks, Dr. Yannick. And so basically, here you are. You're trying to improve your quality of life by taking a supplement. Maybe you did a zinc tally, right? Maybe you saw a practitioner and they had you taste zinc, and it's supposed to taste like rotten battery acid. And if it doesn't taste like rotten battery acid, you must be zinc deficient. Or maybe somebody looked at your fingernails and there's some white spots at them, and so they told you you're zinc deficient because you have white spots. And so you're like, okay, take zinc. And so you start taking zinc, or maybe like you're reading about how to improve your immune function around this corona situation, and you started taking zinc. And you have irritable bowel syndrome. And when you started taking zinc, almost immediately, within a day or two, or even within 15 minutes of taking that supplement, your irritable bowel symptoms got worse. Okay, what the heck is going on? That night you got a fever, that night you didn't sleep well. Maybe you didn't even realize it was a zinc supplement, but here's the reality. A lot of people are taking zinc supplements right now. A lot of people, their irritable bowel symptoms are getting way worse. A lot of people are like drinking water that is like reverse osmosis, so they're adding trace minerals to it that have zinc in it. And if you notice that your stool just cannot seem to get where it needs to be, so you're having less than one bowel movement a day, or you're having more than 3 bowel movements a day, or you've been diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome, then maybe this is your golden ticket to figuring it out. Okay, so here's the deal. These bugs, they want to live. They get in your body, they want to live, okay? And so they try to skirt the immune system, all right? And so one of the things the immune system does is they bring a bunch of white blood cells to the area where the infection is, right, to eradicate it. And then they start secreting all of this stuff, okay? Now, one way we can measure if there's a secretion happening that's killing all these pathogens is to look at something called fecal calprotectin. So if we take a look at some literature here on that, see if I can find something good on that. This is a really cool test that we did on one of our clients, okay? And this is just looking at calprotectin. But while you're looking at this, let me actually find a calprotectin situation here online. There it is. So here we go. So here's some cool research on fecal calprotectin. So calprotectin is a measurement of an immune reaction of the innate immune system. And so if you're a client of ours here at Atlas, I talked about the innate immune system a bunch the last month or so in different videos. And so calprotectin is one biomarker that suggests there's an upregulation of immune activity in the area. And of course, if it's in the bowel, then we know that it's in the bowel. This has been associated with Crohn's disease. It's one of the most sensitive biomarkers for Crohn's disease. Anyway, so we know in the literature, basically the literature says that if you have irritable bowel disease or irritable bowel syndrome, then calprotectin is a very sensitive biomarker. Typically, when we see elevated calprotectin, it means that there's an immune situation happening, whether it's autoimmune or it's infectious disease. This individual has really high calprotectin outside the lab range. This is a test we ran called GI mapping, okay? And he also has secretory IgA that's really high. Now, secretory IgA is an antibody that is produced at the lining of all of our organs. And so basically our hollow organs. And so that gives us a line of defense. It's kind of like, you know, when you have a lint roller, you roll a lint roller and then there's hair on it. And then eventually it gets so full you have to pull it off. So think of the secretory IgA as kind of like a lint roller. It just traps stuff that would come in contact with the lining of the intestine. It just grabs it. Okay, and then eventually it pries off, and then you would put more on there. You can get a really high secretory IgA, or over time you can become depleted. Okay, so this individual has high secretory IgA and high calprotectin, suggesting an active irritable bowel process. Whether it's autoimmune or infectious disease, we don't really know yet, okay, based on this. Also, there's a secondary finding of low elastase. Now, low elastase would suggest that there's not enough pancreatic function to break down proteins. Okay, so that's a significant deal because lack of protein breakdown is one of the impetuses of autoimmunity, which is where our healthy immune system attacks our tissue, and it can lead to a very, very significant decrease in quality of life and expensive medical bills ongoing. So that's what's going on in this situation. Now, if we look at up here, we can see that this individual has also Citrobacter frundi and Prevotella elevated. Okay, so these are bacteria that have grown in excess in the gut. We can see that the range should be 5 zeros instead of 6 zeros. So this person has a significant amount more. This is like the difference between 100 and 1,000, or 10 million versus a million. Okay, so it's a really, 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 really big difference. So this is likely the mechanism driving the elevation of calprotectin and the elevation of secretory IgA. Now, what's the long and short of this? Let's say this is you, and you were reading online that zinc could help you fight off this virus, okay, if you got exposed to it. So you started taking zinc, and then suddenly you got irritable bowel syndrome. Okay, what would happen is this colonized bacteria could bloom out, and as a result, it could significantly increase the amount of immune system that's attacking your tissue, which means that over time, your quality of life would go down substantially. Particularly, for example, Prevotella has been associated with different types of rheumatism, so significant joint pain, okay? So now we're looking at, people often will say things like, you know, it's just a supplement, and supplements can't really do harm, and you know, it's not like it's a drug, and so the non-drug model is a better model. And I'm not here to compete or compare models, okay, but the reality is that a person can really significantly screw themselves up by taking the wrong supplement at the wrong time. So if you have irritable bowel syndrome and your irritable bowel syndrome is worse because you're taking zinc, it might be from this mechanism. And so you know, if you're needing some help figuring out what to do, say zinc is helping you a little bit, but it's also harming you in another way, and you're not sure where to go next, just let me know and we'll see if you can figure something out. And this test that we ran here is called GI Map. We do different types of stool testing depending upon the presentation, but this is one of my favorite tests to run if I'm suspecting irritable bowel syndrome. And I think the turnaround time on this test is about 10 days, okay? So anyway, so if you are taking zinc and your bowel symptoms seem to be worse, hopefully this information was useful, particularly if they've gotten worse since you started taking zinc, because the zinc supplement that you're taking, it's not potentially a detox reaction. This could be something that's actively harming you and contributing to an expansion of a pathological problem that could end up costing you a ton of money and serious decreased quality of life. So hopefully this video is useful. And if you have any questions about it, please give me a holler here. Take care.